Let's get into 26, guys. 26. So Jessie recently qualified to continue coverage under her ex-husband's small employer group policy. Which of the following statements about her continued coverage is incorrect? Coverage will remain in force for 18 months. That's true. 18 months, right? Coverage for disabled beneficiaries may extend up to 29 months. However, the insured may charge up to 150% of the applicable group premium. Ooh, 150% sounds steep, but that is true. That is true. It's wrong answer here is C. Continued policies are reissued to the eligible beneficiary as an individual policy, not as an employee certificate. That is absolutely the incorrect statement there, because if you are continuing coverage, what I say, you're on the path you are on. You didn't change anything. No transformers. That's what I think about. If you're gonna conversion, you got like this transformer, like, oh, what? I don't need no employer. Boom. Get out of here. Like, that's how you think about it. Is that how you got it, David? Yeah. Robots in disguise. All right, so let's see. 27. Premiums for group certificates which have been converted into individual policies are not permitted to exceed 200% of the standard risk rate. Which of the following regulatory entities is responsible for setting the limits on premium rates insurers are allowed to charge? I did not think they were going there with that, right? Look at this whole question right here. It's talking about this 200%. Now, I want to point out, if you were just taking this test for the first time and looking at it, that was a really good indication that the price could be more than 150. If you were worried about one of the options and you thought 150% was too much, the next question identified something that was 200%, and now they're asking you who set that maximum. Just want to point that out, all right? Like, I tell you that if you're taking this test, there was your oranges, or the two that you're trying to eliminate. Well, in the question prior to that, that was the one that I would have thought was a little bit suspect. There was the 150%. But anyway, well, the key here is that we're talking about group certificates. Who issued it? Who gave them the rate? The insurance company, right? So who's that going to be? The Office of Insurance Regulations. The office, it doesn't even sound like they have customer service going on there, right? So the office regulates insurers. The Office of Insurance Regulations regulates insurers. The Office of Financial Regulation regulates banks and lenders. All right, but if you're looking for the information on conversion, that was on 507, page 507. Group certificates are reissued to the eligible beneficiary as an individual policy. That was, let's see, I threw that in there because the key word was converted. And so that was actually irrelevant to the question, wasn't it? It had nothing to do with the question. It's got you thinking about it. They want to know who regulates the rates. Shh. Who wrote these questions? Ridiculous. All right. Let's see. 28. Which of the following statement pertaining an eligible beneficiary of a small employer group policy is not correct? Small employer. All right. Well, small employers, before we look at this, that means that we're talking about mini Cobra, right? What else are we talking about with the small employer? 20 employees or less. There's still no group underwriting. All right, let's see here. All right, so which one is not correct? Well, let's see. Once a group policy is continued by a qualified beneficiary, the policy cannot be terminated by the employer. Hold up. You're continuing something, which means it's staying in effect, right? So how did the person who was in control of it lose control? So right off the bat, A is the wrong answer. So that's the one we're looking for. But let's look at the rest of them, right? Once a group policy is converted by a qualified beneficiary, the termination of the group has no impact on the converted policy, and there is your opposite answer. That's when it's correct. So just make sure that you're paying attention to whether something is continued or converted. Huge, huge. If you're continuing coverage, the owner is still the owner, and you're continuing to be covered by that original policy. If you converted it, I transformed from group to individual, and just make sure you understand that's the whole class. That's there's 3 categories of insurance, right? There's individual, group, and that silly thing called industrial, where some old person comes up to your door from like back in the days, Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman, collecting your insurance premium for your $1,000 or $2,000 policy at your house weekly, right? Psh, get out of here with that industrial nonsense. Individual and group is the only other thing there. So what can you be converting? You could only be converting something from from group to an individual policy. Now, if you're looking for the info on continuation and that conversion, 506, guys, 506 and 507. If you're looking at the notes, what we got you there on is focus on the vocab. When things get confusing, be as literal as possible, and that's where I'm trying to remind you of that continuation or conversion. All right? Now, I didn't mention it, but if you look at, let's see. If you look at C, once qualifying event occurs, the eligible beneficiary must notify the insurer within 63 days. Guys, that 63 days is a real number, okay? Any time that we're talking about you had credible coverage because you had a policy, okay? That's just, I want you to keep that language, credible coverage, that benefit of the doubt that you receive when you're moving into that, trying to either continue the policy or convert the policy or get a new policy. You did not have credible coverage if that time period was beyond 63 days. Okay? So that also holds true for Medicare. Remember that that penalty that we identified with Medicare Part D if you didn't enroll during your initial enrollment period, right? Well, that initial enrollment period, what if you had a group policy? You didn't need to go ahead and enroll as long as you had credible coverage through your group policy. But if you lose credible coverage, you must get onto your Part B, your Medicare, your Part B, A, B, and D for drugs within 63 days, or it's going to be looked at as you had a break in your credible coverage, and you get that 1% penalty, right? 1% per every month. So just think about that. That 63 days is a weird number, but think of it as December, January plus 1 day, right? So you had those 2 months back to back. There's 62. The next day you better have gotten it done. So you got 2 months and a day. Let's see here. 29. Which of the following statement pertaining to coordination of benefits is incorrect? The coordination of benefits provision is designed to eliminate possible overpayment of benefits in the event 2 policies cover the same claim. That's true. That's absolutely true. Let's put that, mark that green. Bap. All right. B, individual and group policies are always first payer when coordinating with Medicare. That's true. Medicare is federal, right? Yo, Daddy Gov ain't paying until they have to. And then when they do pay, they give you things like Social Security. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, but they're real quick to go ahead and pay for those injections. Well, those COVID injections. Too much propaganda. So, oh no, what is that? Conspiracy theories. That's not even propaganda. That's conspiracy theories, right? So I'm over here spreading conspiracy theories. All right, so let's see. But that's true. Let's see. C, when 2 or more policies cover the same dependent child, the policy of the parent with primary custody pays first. I can see that. That's reasonable. The policy of the step parent, the spouse of the primary parent, pays second. That's suspect, isn't it? And policy of the biological parent without custody pays third. That's true. That's true. I would have thought I would have thought it would have been parent, and then step. But, yo, it goes either way. If they want them, they got to pay for them, right? They want your ex, they got to pay for the other stuff too. You got to take that dependent. Woof. 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 Say nothing, but that's true. So A, B, and C are true. Well, you know, oh, who's that just died? Jerry Springer. Rest in peace, Jerry. That one went out to you. Part number C. Whose responsibility is it to pay for the kid? Rest in peace, Jerry Springer. All right, wrong answer there is D. Coordination of benefits provision is used in group and indemnity type policies, right? So, look, all this is here is that when you have a comprehensive, all-inclusive policy, what they're saying is that to make sure, think about those hysterical people that go out there and if they forget about it, they got access to two policies. They're over there putting all kinds of information down, just trying to make everything crazy. Look, there's an order to these things, all right? So just like with, in the event of a divorce where somebody with primary custody, and they're insinuating that she got it, right? She got the kid, and why she already get married? You see that? Like they give us an example. She left, she got primary custody, and she got married already. Did I get fat or something? Like what's going on here? But anyway, right? It establishes stuff like that. But let's just say it was it was me, Kelly, and Danger. Danger, Kelly, and I, all right? Like, there you go. But in that situation, I'm older, but when we look at a calendar year, she's a March baby, I'm a December baby. So if you have two parents that have a policy, the parent of whose birthday comes first in the calendar year is responsible for the kid. All right? So coordination of benefits just makes sure that there's an order to these things so that way no one's fighting over the bill. That's it. All right? But the only time it really comes into effect is if we're talking about with these major policies. And the only other thing that even looks like coordination of benefits would be when we're talking about disability income, percentage of earnings, because percentage of earnings takes into account other policies and amounts of money that you're receiving when you should be on disability. When they're like, yo man, I said the maximum you can make is 80%. You come in and try to subsidize that money, I can reduce your benefit amount. So, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about coordination of benefits, right? So if you're looking in the book, both Jack and Jill work and receive health care from their employer, right? Jack received blah, blah, blah. Their baby kangaroo gets sick. Coordination of benefits determines which policy is responsible for paying, right? So that was what me and Kelly were Jack and Jill. If you looked at, I just looked at this. I was reading. I was like, Jack and Jill. I was like, I didn't know if I should be reading that out loud. Did I put some smart aleck comment in there or something? But no, it's just Jack and Jill with my people. This is my people, all right? But you can't use a coordination of benefit with limited risk, critical illness policies, indemnity, accident policies, blah, blah, blah. So 30, outline of coverage. When must the outline of coverage be provided, all right? Well, outline of coverage sounds a lot like a policy summary, because what's a policy summary? It's an outline of the coverage that you're purchasing. Well, when is that due? Well, we know Buyer's Guide pre-frames the discussion. We know the policy summary pre-frames the value propositions of the policy you're purchasing. All right, so what is this? Is B, an outline of coverage is provided when the agent begins the application process. If you're looking in the book, you're on page 509, outline of coverage. And then what do we have outlined there? Health insurance policy may not be delivered or issued in Florida unless it's accompanied by an appropriate outline of coverage, delivered at the time of application, provided to the insurer with the application, which means it's part of the application, part of the entire contract. All right? What does that outline of coverage identify? It identifies your category of coverage, description of the principal benefits, exclusions, limitations, your renewal and cancellation provisions, all that good stuff, right? It's just basically an overview of the policy you're buying. David, what's my time?